Hello there. Today we are going to proceed from where we left from the other video, and we had covered the book of Genesis. Just one chapter, chapter 16, where we delved into the life of Abraham before, God renews his covenant. And we talked about what he had done with Hagar and all that. So today we are going to do chapter 17 and see how far we'll cover it with this clip here. So, the birth of Ishmael. I'm going to borrow a bit from chapter 16. So, chapter 16 verse 15 says, "And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. This name came from Abram, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. Verse 16, "And Abraham was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram." So the son is born. Chapter 17, God renews his covenant. "And when Abraham was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me, and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. Here the Lord appears to Abram personally, saying, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me, and be thou perfect. Nothing other than perfect. Verse 2 says, And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. So God is now pouring more promises to Abraham. And Abraham fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, now they are talking, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee. My covenant is with you, Abraham. Thou shalt be a father of many nations. If only he could have tarried a bit. So that's fine. From Abram to Abram, verse 5 of chapter 17 of Genesis. So God is now talking. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. Promises. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee, and kings shall come out of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. Verse 7, And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. This is a covenant, not meant to be broken, right? Spoken to Abraham by God in the days of old. The terms and conditions still apply to date. So we'll see how Jesus Christ, after coming, changes a few, but such is that. Not really changes, but influences a few. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. The covenant for God to be God of Abraham and the God of the children of Abraham down the line to today. Same God, Verse 8, and I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. Again, this touches on this piece of land here, Canaan, as mentioned to Abraham in the days of old. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. So if you refuse God to be your God, this God written here, then you break this covenant, then it becomes chaotic in that piece of land. Verse 9, and God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. You shall keep, thou shalt keep, thou shalt keep. It is not an option. It is meant to be kept as it is. And God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. Number 10, verse 10, this is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. Okay? And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. Symbol. Of course, through the circumcision there was blood in it. That is what symbolized that covenant between Abraham and God. Of course, when now Jesus comes, we'll see in the New Testament and all that, where we're talking about circumcision of now your heart, not the physical. And then Paul really does a wonderful job explaining to all these Gentiles, the Romans and all that, how not being circumcised in the flesh is being circumcised in the flesh that won't take you to heaven. No, because now the game has changed. It's now more spiritual. That is something we'll see. And I think I mentioned in my first video as well. So that changes as well. Verse 12, and he that is 8 years old shall be circumcised among you. Every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house, or bought with the money of any stranger which is not of thy seed. These are now terms and conditions of God giving Abraham, trying to set apart his people from the rest. Okay. Verse 13, he that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money must must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. Verse 14. And the uncircumcised man child whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. That is how important this covenant was with God. Once you agree, you don't go back. Okay? So that's a bit between from Abraham to Abraham, and the lay down covenant and the terms and conditions there. Okay? From Sarai to Sarah, verse 15 of Genesis chapter 17. And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. Okay? But Sarah shall her name be. So God here is making covenant with Abraham and changing names. Both Abraham and Sarah had done something with Hagar. Their story needed to change. They needed a new name. This is a new partnership. It's a new covenant. It's a new frontier. A new chapter. A new book. May God change your name today and give you a new lease of life. Start afresh with God. Start from chapter 1. Write a new book. Begin afresh. Because with God all things are possible. Verse 16. Genesis chapter 17 verse 16. God's promise of a son. He continues now. This shifted from Abraham, now is going to Sarah. Or Sarah. And I will bless her, verse 16 says. And I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. Yes, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Verse 17. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? Verse 18. And Abraham said unto God, Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, he's like, no. Abraham is the father of faith. There are things here where God tells you, you have grown up as a human being and you know the way things work. You know the lifespan of a man. You know the menopause area. So you cannot really believe when you're being told, look, no matter how old you are, you can still give birth. So here, Abraham is even proposing that, more realistic plan is to have Ishmael continue to be the son, but he's forgetting now that the whole game plan is led by God as it is. Remember the line of the spirit line. That is it. And this is where many of us do falter. in the quest for faith, or believing. When we reach the New Testament, then we will talk about the way Jesus told people how to be like children. So when God tells you, you just believe instantly, and you trust that it will be okay. So that's why Abraham here is laughing. But he forgets that the same God speaking to him here is the same God who has created the other animals who are doing more years giving birth. So it's possible for a human being to give birth by the word of God, no matter how old. It's highly possible, and anything is possible with God, because everything belongs to Him. He can decide yes, no, that kind of thing. So that's why here Abraham is laughing, because to him it doesn't make sense, but he knows if God has said it, then but he's trying to talk. That's why he became very good friends with God, because he would sit down and do that well. But that's it. Anyway, Genesis chapter 17 verse 18. And Abraham said unto God, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee." Okay. Verse 19. And God said, "Sarah, thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him." So here God is trying to draw the line, and God is His Spirit now. He is moving. The more this man of God here, or this servant of God Abraham, is aging, the more the Spirit now wants to move to the next line. When I was getting trained in my church, and the servant of God would say, would pray for people, and there's some individuals who would be called, and it will be revealed that they are servants of God. Then say you're now meant to do the work of God and all that, and you pull a Jonah, or you decide you're going to tarry, and you get old, and you refuse it, then it jumps. The Spirit now jumps from you, because the mandate now goes to your son or to your offspring. It really never expires. Sort of the way physicians or physicists say energy never expires, but it's passed on. That scenario. So in this scenario, Abraham is getting old, and before even Abraham tells God what he's thinking about the lineage and the inheritance and all the wealth, God knows. So he's already planned it out. Again, that's why I did one video for chapter 16 alone, and it is very heavy video, because chapter 16 of Genesis is a test of time, and if only could have pushed through with the patience, then they would have just seated there and waited, and then this would have still come despite the age. And again, if as this man is as great as Abraham, the lineage is so great, so the preparation would take longer, because he is now responsible for a whole lot of nations. I watched a video just recently about some Italian cheese, and the way they process the milk. I can't remember the name, but the special cheese takes like 1 year to make, but then the value goes higher. and there's just a couple of number of companies that are allowed to make that particular cheese and ship it out. That scenario. So there's value in a process. The longer it takes, in its processing. It's the same way we'll see when with Jesus Christ. From zero being born to 33 years in the making. Processing that. You're growing capacity and all that. Anyway, not to digress, but that's the whole point. So I reiterate Genesis chapter 17 verse 19. And God said, Sarah, thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. The seed after him. Quite a laughter there. Now, so this is why I want to say Abraham did love Hagar, definitely. Because even in his conversation with God, he's even pushing for a lineage of Ishmael. He didn't hate Ishmael. Abraham never hated Ishmael. Abraham never hated Hagar. It is important to know that Abraham never... The reason why even God came to choose Abraham is because of the heart of the people. This man was not selfish at all. When we look at the encounter with Lot, this man was a humble man, and a very, very, very wise man. He still looked after, Ishmael and all that, and we still put the name of Ishmael before God, So I don't believe the drama they had with Sarah and Hagar, and I don't believe he would be the person to throw away or push away Hagar. And it is very, very important to note that, because Abraham did indeed love Hagar, because you can see the same love for the son Ishmael. He did, yeah, he did. Still looking after Ishmael. Yeah. But of course, the beef between Hagar and Sarah, that was normal. They're women. That's normal. That's normal. But anyway, Ishmael to be a great nation. So Genesis chapter 17, verse 20. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Imagine. God now is talking to Abraham about Ishmael. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him. So the young man receives blessing, courtesy of Abraham, and will make him fruitful. He will never go broke, okay? And will multiply him exceedingly. And then we are mentioning here something. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. This is Ishmael. 21, verse 21. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. Such magnificence here. God is just coming, talking, and Abraham is quite a business person, because he's making sure that all things are in order. Very nice. So here is Ishmael, who is older than Isaac. Ishmael is already blessed. to date. Okay, to date. And is multiplied to date. 12 princes shall he beget, 12 princes, and will make him a great nation. But now that Spirit of God lies with Isaac. So here there's parting of ways in that man. So Ishmael doesn't go empty, because carries a blessing. You understand? So the problem here is whether Ishmael will remember this God, or whether Ishmael will serve this God. That is the question now. Then that's the difference now of this tree, because it comes to Abraham and then it branches like that, and this one branches like that. Okay. And before I want to touch on something on Galatians, because Paul mentions this story of Abraham as he teaches. So I want you to understand that part. It is very important that Abraham definitely kind of loved Hagar, and he looked after the child, and he never let the child go astray. This is such, even presented the child to God. And as for Ishmael, I have had thee, courtesy of Abraham. So Abraham made sure that, and this is a good thing, that that's why that man had a nice heart, very, very, very well done. And he made sure that all the time Ishmael was taken care of, and the man received the blessing. I had to bookmark this for just. There's an argument here where Paul is talking to the Galatians. Quite a lawyer indeed, this one. I'm going to pick from Galatians chapter 4, verse 22. Listen to what Paul is talking about. This Abraham, Hagar, and Sarah, right? With respect to Ishmael and Isaac. For it is written that Abraham had two sons. The one by a bondmaid, the other by a free woman. But he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh. Planned. But he of the free woman was by a promise. Spirit. Okay. Verse 24. Which things are an allegory? For these are the two covenants. The one from the Mount Sinai, which gendereth to bondage, which is Hagar. Okay. For this Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which now is and is in bondage with her children. Verse 26. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. For it is written, Rejoice, thou barren that bearest not. Break forth and cry, thou that travailest not. For the desolate hath many more children than she which hath an husband. Rejoice, thou barren that bearest not. Break forth and cry, thou that travailest not? For the desolate had many more children than she which had an husband. Verse 28. Now we, brethren, as Isaac was, are the children of the promise. Verse 29. But as then he that was born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the spirit, even so it is now. Nevertheless, what saith the scripture? Cast out the bondwoman and her son, for the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with the son of the free woman. So then, brethren, we are not children of the bondwoman, but of the free. Okay? That is that. So here is a very important part in time where history is being written by God as it is, alright? And in this point, I am calling this parting of, it's like a tree. There's this branching here. There's one side, this side of Isaac, one side of Ishmael. Now, both of them are from Abraham, who is serving this one God. From the book of Genesis chapter 1. Same God. But what happens now down the line? At this point, that's the change. This is the point where things change for these particular two religions, as it is. Whether this one on the other side believes what is happening to the other side. It's as simple as that. But all are from one man called Abraham. So that's that. Okay. We will encounter Ishmael because they will be passing each other. The timelines will be passing. The descendants of Isaac will be passing the same land. It's not like something was brought from the ocean and put in. It's the same land. So they are always passing each other. And you will see how it is passing. Don't pass it. The kind of scenario. So yeah. Let's proceed. Verse 22, and he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. This is perfect. I'm very happy about this part and what Abraham did, because he sort of made the heart of Hagar lighter. he made things better by this gesture, and we thank God for blessing Ishmael, because Ishmael deserved the blessing for chapter 16. Truly, can only be human to that level. Okay, verse 23, Abraham's household circumcised. So now covenant has been written, they already agreed, terms and conditions have been set. Now we move down the line, right? So, and Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the same day, as God had said unto him. Verse 24, and Abraham was 90 years old and 9, and when he was circumcised in the flesh of even himself. Well, foreskin. Verse 26, in the same day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son. Of course, you see, this man is happy. He has a son. He's very happy. He's as a child, he's happy. Verse 27. And all the men of his house, born in the house, and bought with money of the stranger, were circumcised with him. Chapter 18. That was a nice chapter. Abraham's heavenly visitors. Okay, so you can see Abraham did well by Hagar and Ishmael. No need for beef. No. Just know that by Jesus Christ coming to be born, the question I would ponder or put out there is, everyone is free to believe whomever, but there are those souls that there's some problems which only Jesus Christ can solve. And when you reach to that level, then you're free to call on the name of Jesus Christ, and he will meet you halfway, whether you believe it or not. So the name is free, it's available, it's very powerful. God is everywhere, and God became Jesus Christ. The question is whether you believe it or not. But if you do need him, he will always be there for you. Chapter 18. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. Must have been midday, maybe. See, God here is coming to Abraham. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre. And he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. He sat. He has come as one. Okay. Verse 2. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground. Children of God, it is important for you to grow with God. Grow, know the word, grow with God, we'll talk about the baptisms and all that, but by the time, I know if you are listening to me, you know the whole game. Christianity, grow in spirit so that you may be alert, so that you may be able to see God, so that you don't be confused. So he has come as one, he has looked at seen 3, immediately he has run, because many of you encounter God, but you do not know. That's quite a pity. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. If God has come, very wise man this one, and circumcise your hearts so that you may be as little children, and so that God may find favor, because God looks at the heart. I don't know whether to say that the more childish it is, the more probable that God will be near you, that kind of scenario. It's a whole argument to it. I'll teach you about it when you get to the New Testament, but yeah. There were a lot of men on earth on that day, but only Abraham had that capacity to bring God closer. You understand? And he knew God to that level, and God knew him to that level, our friends. So he found favor. So God is everywhere. So if you circumcise your heart to a level that you will notice that, look, in this 1,000 kilometers square, this continent, or in this territory, or in this land, or there is one person here. He will find you. God is as I had told you, by reason of waters in the Genesis chapters 1, 2, that kind of. God is everywhere. You don't need to tell God the location. He has created everything, so he knows everything and everywhere where everything is. He is mapped out. Can I use these terms? Maybe intelligent terms where people are being searched using coordinates. So God knows all the coordinates of everything. Can locate anything, anywhere, anytime. So the question is, do you want to be found? Are you in a position to be found? Are you connected? Anyway, that's the line here. That's the teaching here we get in these 2-3 verses. So verse 2 says, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, my Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. If I have found favor in your eyes, don't pass me by. Pray to God. Pray. Children of God, pray. Pray that God finds favor. Pray that you find favor in the eyes of God, so he can come to you. Okay? It's as easy as that. Now, verse 4. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. If I told you that for every human being, in every day, whoever is lucky enough to wake up and see the sun again, and you walk the whole day 12 hours, there's no way in the whole 12 hours you would not encounter God or him in form of angels, But the question is, are you able to see? Are you able to notice? Are you able to take note that is God? Are you able to see? Are you able to know? Because he moves around all the time, Say you're traveling or say you're running around in a market, you will pass, I hope and pray that you grow into this level of this man called Abraham. It will do you good. It will do you good. So you will see the good here in the case of Lot. You will see. Verse 3, verse 4. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. To a normal man, carnal as it is, just seeing 3 strangers appear, then you suddenly, let's say there was a man just standing next to Abraham, or maybe, let's say there was a camera being put. Let's say someone was recording Abraham seated in the heat of the day, and then suddenly he just rises up and he sees 3 men coming. Yeah, I can say men. he sees three men coming, then all of a sudden he says, "Hey, let me wash your feet." It will appear very strange, to the one recording, because he has no idea who these people are. But out of the whole land, the whole territory of Canaan as it is, only Abraham knew. Do you see? So, verse 5. Okay, let me just repeat verse 4. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. Verse 5. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on. For therefore are ye come to your servant, and they said, So do as thou hast said. There are so many secrets here to interacting with God. Abraham is aiming at the heart. This game was played very well by King David. We'll reach here and you will be filled with laughter and happiness. Because the King David sins a lot and then still manages to. But terms and conditions apply anyway. So, Abraham chooses water. Let's not go to the water. Look at verse 5. And I will fetch a morsel of bread. I don't know whether we are told this morsel thing. But anyway. I will fetch a morsel of bread and comfort ye your hearts. Comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on. Why is Abraham mentioning about the heart? Comfort ye your hearts. Because he knows God has come and something has done something to the heart of God. Something has not made God unhappy here. So Abraham is aiming at the heart. And comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on. For therefore are ye come to your servant. Okay? So, trying to understand what God is doing here. They are now three. And he could read the mood. He wanted to calm God down before the earth would shake and all that. But he's trying to understand why. So anytime God is coming, is moving, understand why. Go to the heart and talk, And now he's offering food, just so that they can be calmed down, because you don't want him angry, That is the whole point here. You want God calm all the time. Please don't make God angry. It's a dangerous affair, Never you make God angry. Comfort ye your hearts. So after that, he shall pass on. Then once your heart is comforted, then you can go. And they said, So do as thou hast said. Fanya vile umesema. So do as thou hast said. So do as thou hast said. Proceed. Now, you need to understand the language of God. You need to understand how to talk. You need to be friends with God. So when you are friends with God, you know how to talk to God. Yeah, when he's angry, then You don't need to know what to do. If you don't, then you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Because now they have agreed to calm down. Because even if it was suggesting wash their feet, it means that these three men had quite an undertaking around the area, with dust and all. Okay, so verse 6. And Abraham hastened, into the tent and to Sarah and said, make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal and knead it and make cakes upon the hearth. Quickly. Verse 7. And Abraham ran unto the herd and fetched a calf tender and good and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to dress it. Verse 8. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did it. The boss has come. Make the boss happy. He's God. He's here. Do it quickly. Let them eat. All right? If you feel, if God now has appeared and keep quiet, make him happy. That was the point here. That's the point here. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did it. So now, the situation is a bit more handled. Sarah promised a son. So Abraham is yet to know why these people are here. Anyway, verse 9. And they said unto him, where is Sarah, thy wife? And he said, behold, in the tent. Verse 10. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. This is beautiful. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. The time of life. The time of life. According to the time of life. So life has a time. But this time is different from the time of God. The time of life. The time of life. Operate in the kingdom of God, in the spirit, so that you can manipulate the time of life. The time of life. God is king over the time of life. The time of life. God is king over the time of life. Is it things, all delays, or whatever you are looking for? Look at the life of Abraham and Sarah, no child, but the time of life. The time of life is changing. God will change the time of life. Please believe in Jesus Christ so He can change the time of life. The time of life. Consider a person being released from prison who lost 40 years in prison, and God changes the time of life, recovering everything to the time of life, If you've lived in sin for so long and you've lost all your life, but God will change the time of life. Time of life. That's the game here. Okay? This is a whole sermon. The time of life. I'll teach on this time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah had it in the tent door which was behind him. Sarah knew these people and he didn't know anyone get near this thing because for 2 reasons. He was afraid. Sometimes they don't want to say something, so you just keep quiet and hide. It's a very important character for this one is also brought from that hierarchy kind of scenario. God has come to Abraham. He did not come to Sarah. Do you understand? And the reason is from the story of Adam and Eve and that snake. So the hierarchy changes. God has come to Abraham, not to Sarah. But doesn't mean Sarah is not important, because Sarah is needed the food and all that. And then you cannot get the lineage without Sarah. I hope it makes sense. But all this is anchored to a story of Eve. Okay. And Sarah had it in the tent door, which was behind him. Sarah was listening. Okay. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Sarah now was not menopause. Menopause. Verse 12. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure? Oh yeah. After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old so? Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old so? The laughing was very old. That's it. And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh? Saying, here is a scenario. Sarah is listening, but look at this. Sarah laughed within herself, in spirit, not out loud. But God listened. And the Lord said unto Abraham, no, this is not the Lord. They are not three again. He is now one. It's quite a confusing scenario. Very beautiful, magnificent encounter here. 3 1, 3 1, 1 3. And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child with which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? It's a common sense. As I had taught you people from the book of Genesis, if you know this is the one who has created everything, how is it that things will be hard for the one who has created everything? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed I will return unto thee, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son, according to the time of life, Is anything at the time appointed I will return unto thee, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. This is the thing with Sarah. My beef with Sarah is this one. Of all the things, I'm just saying, by the way, not on a serious note, but my problem or my issue with Sarah is, after everything that she has witnessed for all these years with her husband, even now believing is a problem. But now I want to tell you this part of Sarah is being written why. It is very difficult to have faith. It is difficult to believe. It is difficult to trust, especially if you are educated. Because if you go and tell a doctor at this age that you're supposed to get pregnant, all of them will laugh at you. If you actually do a thesis or a paper on it, they will laugh. But if you look at it now from the kingdom's perspective, where the one who has created everything is telling you, you have no choice other than to believe. So these are stories. So Sarah received another story and he's being told this. So he cannot imagine how he will go into labor at that age. How? But all the systems are dead. But that is God for you. The same way God will bring life into your life. Please believe in God. Nothing dead cannot come to life, even the womb. So So this is the easiest miracle for all of you who are believing for a child. This is the easiest because it just takes a step of faith and belief through this word he has written. Take God by his word. Tell God the same way he gave. The same way God is discussing with Sarah here about the child. You talk to God the same way. Then God will give you children. For those who are looking and they feel that time is up because we've used all manner of drugs and all that. Please just believe. And this is why I was mentioning the other time that there are some problems that only Jesus Christ can solve. And we are in that situation and you need that problem solved, like the problem of not having a child and you are old and your systems are failed. That problem can only be solved by Jesus Christ. Where will you get a child? How will you get a womb? Which doctor will do a transplant to a 90-year-old get an uterus? That is impossible. But by this verse it is possible. So this is a simple problem where can be solved by Jesus Christ. Okay. and look, then Sarah denied. I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. So here God knows everything. Yeah? You really cannot hide from God. Your thoughts, everything. He created you. Okay. All right. I want to end this session today at that point because I don't want to go to Sodom and Gomorrah because that's where it's going next. So let me just quote verse 16. Let's leave Sarah alone because now you all know understand how the game is going. Anyway, it's a beautiful encounter here with God. It is marvelous. If only I could have been there just to see, but we get to see through the scripture as it is. Chapter 18 verse 16. And the men rose up from thence and looked toward Sodom. Did you see? And Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. They rose up and they turned towards Sodom. They rose up and they turned towards Sodom. And Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. Verse 20, and the Lord said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. So I don't want to touch Sodom and Gomorrah today, but I'll tell you something here, because I want to end it there. I'm moving event by event. So because before we touch the Sodom and Gomorrah event, these men now, they're not three again. Okay? They rose up from thence and looked towards Sodom. So they were on a mission. There are very important aspects here. Look at the whole land of Canaan, or this land, whichever the name of the land it is. But look at the whole land. There's only one man, Abraham. So in all the lands, there's only one person. Even today, in all land, God will visit one. Okay, yeah. People will visit others in spirit and all that. But look at this scenario here. There's one man here who is handling the case for Sodom and Gomorrah, and that is Abraham. Okay. If we could have altered the whole, he has changed. He has made a very important aspect. He has changed this past, the history of Sodom and Gomorrah, by him hosting God. That is very important to know. Okay. And then now they are friends. Now he cannot talk because he has found, there's no found favor upon the eyes of God. Now Abraham has put them their well food because of the meal, and because of this meal, they came with a gift. That's why it's important for you to know when God is moving and where He is. It's important for you to know because He always moves all the time. For you as Him, it's important for you to know because this encounter gave a promise to Sarah again, and this encounter will bring intercession for Sodom by Abraham. What if Abraham did not do this? This man would have just come and finished and go. Indeed, maybe even Abraham would have been part of it. But there is something the men say before I end. For I know him, look at chapter 19. For I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. For I know him. God knows Abraham. So there's no need for God to hide anything from Abraham. Does God know you? Will God hide anything from you? Know God. Please. We're going to end that today. Then we're now going to enter. Let's find out what these men are doing now. Sodom and Gomorrah. That will be. So we'll cut chapter 18 into half here. So we'll proceed from there. That was a very beautiful session. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.